Can you tell me about sort of how you got into music, where you began with your musical journey, and how you got to where you are now?
That's a good question. So, wow, it started in my childhood, in the basement of probably the first house that I would say I grew up in, with a chord organ. Do you know what those are?
Yeah,
Magnus.
I've got one in the basement.
Yeah, it started with a chord organ of my grandmother's that was lying around the basement, and as a very young child, I feel like I had normal toys, but that was the one I loved the most because I'd plug it in, you turn it on, and a fan would warm up, and I'd hold down the keys, and it would crescendo, as air started moving through the chord organ. And I would spend hours down there. I didn't know anything about music or really even wasn't very self-aware about it at that point, and I would just hold down one key and then press another and kind of experience what different intervals felt like. I have distinct memories of being down there for a very long time. So the chord organs have a section on the left that are all chords, and then maybe like an octave and a half of keys. These kind of sound like I don't know, bad accordions, sort of. It's always sort of sour notes and out of tune. They're not meant for professional playing. A lot of bands recorded them. I have in the past too. But yeah, definitely down in my parents' basement, holding chord buttons, playing with intervals, trying to figure out which ones would resonate the most and why. Or I was a very touchy-feely kid, so different ones would make me feel different ways. So I think that was the start of it. It's the last light scene of a dream. Forget fearsome and dim. Well, I twiddle my thumbs with the rag I've become and wait for the world within. 'Cause all I want is your feather jaw at rest on my shivering shoulders. to Michigan in 2001, and that's sort of when it happened. I moved to Ann Arbor, and there was a thriving local music scene, and I had access to U of M's recording studios, and I just went nuts. It was heaven. It was wonderful.
Is that what you studied while you were there?
I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts.
Okay.
But I did video work and bookmaking and ceramics, and I made a lot of audio art, sort of like narratives with sound effects.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was still working in the audio realm, and I was recording a lot of songs. And I feel like I loved art school. I loved getting assignments where I had a creative problem to solve. But I would integrate most of the lessons I learned into songwriting. So, you know, I'd have a design assignment about repetition.
Mm-hmm.
And someone would say, present us a piece of work where repetition enhances meaning, and give us a work where repetition removes meaning. So I got questions like that, and I'd be like, this is a great thing to bring to songwriting and see, you know. So everything that I learned there, I sort of took in my back pocket and was like, I'm going to think about this in terms of songwriting as well. So.
Does that process still inform your songwriting?
It does, but it's a little more distant now. It's sort of become morphed into this other thing. I'm not sure exactly how it's different, but at that time it was more like, I'm going to write a song and this is my mission.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's more natural and fluid.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about that less. It's just sort of happening. Sometimes I'm like, this is something that I'm interested in doing, or this is a problem I'm trying to solve, but it's mostly the question of like, this is this abstract thing I'd like to say. So that's kind of the question that always happens.
Cool. What have been some of the highlights for you as a performer, musician?
That's another good question. There's like career highlights. There's things that I'm proud of, things that we say, you know, in press. So those, you know, Tiny Desk was a really great thing for us, or for me as a musician. That definitely got me a lot of exposure. But as far as like what's the most rewarding, are like specific shows that were.
I hear that a lot from musicians.
Yeah, so I recently got to play at this place up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. I love touring up there. I love the landscape.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't mind living there. It's beautiful, and the culture is really incredible. There's a place up there in Hancock, Michigan called the Orphan Theater that I forget exactly what it used to be. Maybe it was just an old theater that now has a really great pizza shop in the front, and they do shows. People just get pizza and bring us to BYOB. I think maybe they have a liquor license now, last time I was there. But something about that show in particular, that space, it was just really special to me. And there's a lot of people, I've been going up there since maybe 2006. So there's a lot of people that connect with the music. Not a lot of people tour the UP. There's not a lot of, you know, big bands aren't driving to the middle of nowhere to play shows. They're playing major markets. So the relationship that I have with the crowd, many of which are my friends, is really special and very healing as an experience. It's incredible and lifting. It's amazing. So that's the most recent show where I like walked out of there and I was like floating on air.
Do you think Michigan sort of influences your songwriting style? Or
I'm sure. I mean, Michigan.
Because I don't have a lot of experience up there. It just always seems so beautiful, and I don't know. You have these romantic kind of visions of.
Yeah,
that area.
The landscape is certainly beautiful. That's a big part of it, but it's also like people-less place too. There's a really strong culture. Like I feel like you'd say, oh, these are all Louisville bands, or these are Lexington bands, or these bands are Cincinnati bands. And the state, in some ways, binds together, especially the sort of folky, indie, rocky realms, and they say, oh, well, it's more Michigan bands. So it's interesting how the scene can be statewide, and there's definitely flavors and pockets and dialects within the state, but more than any other place I've ever been, people are really into Michigan. I was shocked by it when I moved there, and I asked people about it, and I was like, what is what's going on here? Why is everybody like so pro-Michigan? Illinois wasn't like this when I was in college. Like that wasn't a thing. You know, it was like, oh, well, there's a Chicago music scene, but there's a Michigan music scene. Everything's a few hours apart, you know, and a lot of people know each other in the scene, so. But that probably influenced me, though I can't cite specific things.